My friend's dad was working in a field one day, and when he came home later, he found he was covered in ticks. He got them all out, but was soon diagnosed with Lyme's disease. The doctors didn't really know what to do because there were so many ticks, and so it was a really, really bad case of Lyme's disease. However, a group of people got together and prayed for him, and the next day, the doctors tested him, and there was zero trace of Lyme's disease in his system. God had truly touched this man and healed him of his Lyme's disease.
Jesus heals a man with leprosy. When Jesus came down from the mountainside, large crowds followed him. A man with leprosy came and knelt before him and said, "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean." Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. "I am willing," he said. "Be clean." Immediately he was cleansed of his leprosy. Then Jesus said to him, "See that you don't tell anyone, but go, show yourself to the priest, and offer the gift Moses commanded, as a testimony to them." I chose this verse because this shows the amount of faith this man had in Jesus to clean him, and it shows that the faith you have in God can bring you good things in life.
An illustration from the Bible where Jesus demonstrates healing is the parable of the bleeding woman from Mark chapter 5, verses 25 to 34. In the crowd was a woman who had been bleeding for 12 years. She had gone to many doctors and they had not done anything except cause her a lot of pain. She had paid them all the money she had, but instead of getting better, she only got worse. The woman had heard about Jesus, so she came up behind him in the crowd and barely touched his clothes. She had said to herself, "If I can just touch his clothes, I will get better." As soon as she touched them, her bleeding stopped and she knew that she was well. At that moment, Jesus felt power go out from him. He turned to the crowd and asked, "Who touched my clothes?" His disciples said to him, "Look at all these people crowding around you. How can you ask who touched you?" But Jesus turned to see who had touched him. The woman knew what had happened to her. She came shaking with fear and knelt down in front of Jesus, then told him the whole story. Jesus said to the woman, "You are now well because of your faith. May God give you peace. You are healed and will no longer be in pain." Jesus could have healed the woman and kept on walking to his original destination. Only he and the woman would have known what had taken place. But he didn't do that. Jesus stopped what he was doing and acknowledged the result of this woman's faith, her complete and instantaneous healing. The irony of this healing moment was that it was not the touching of the garment that actually healed the woman. It was a touch of faith that made her whole.
Psalms 137 verse 3 tells us that Jesus heals the brokenhearted and binds their wounds. He definitely does heal the brokenhearted and bind our wounds, as I know he has for me personally during a really dark time in my life when I thought my whole world was collapsing. During this time, there was one point where I was sitting in my special spot and I was writing out one of my special prayers, and all of a sudden it felt like the walls were collapsing and I got cold and I had chills and I felt like the devil was in my room sitting behind me. And as I was writing out, I just started to cry because I was scared that if I turned around I would see his face. And then I just prayed and said, "God, let the devil flee from me." And he did, and he did. Since then I have been so relieved, and I know that he can heal you the same way he's healed me.
In John 11, God's told by Mary and Martha that the one that he loves is dying. This was Lazarus. He then waits a couple days and gets news that Lazarus died. Then he goes to his tomb where he's buried and calls out Lazarus by name to come out and be healed. And he did. If God can call people from the dead to be healed, how much more can he do for us who are still here on earth, alive, and have a personal relationship with him?